The grammar basically are the rules upon which the construction of sentences is based. But whether the sentence will make logical sense or meaning sense is another thing. So when we are trying to understand grammar over here, we are more focused on the rules. Please understand. Sometimes, but however, what happens is your questions when they are asked that, okay, from the following four sentences, pick the sentence which is not grammatical. So therein they give you three, four words. They tell you that okay, on the basis of grammar, oh, three, four words they give. Sometimes, they sometimes may just frame the question like on the basis of grammar, or they say, let me just write down these words here. Pick the sentence on the basis of grammar, semantics, redundancy, and conciseness. You see these four things over here written over here about a sentence. So sometimes they give you four sentences and they say, okay, pick the sentence which is best in terms with all these keeping all these four aspects in mind. Grammar is one of the aspects. Semantics means meaning. The meaning of semantics is it is related to meaning. Then redundancy is using wasteful words in sentences or words which are duplicated. कुछ redundancy maths में भी होती है शायद कहीं पर. I'm not very sure, but you may have heard of this word concept in maths. Otherwise, in English, redundancy means using two words. For example, if I say shout loudly, तो shout loudly का क्या मतलब है? Shout तो loud ही होता है. So I have to simply say he shouted. If you shout, it will be loudly only, na? So this is called redundancy in the sentence. So, and conciseness is that two sentences which mean exactly the same thing. One of them has got more words in it, four, five, or two, three more words. So it is a longer sentence. So you'll pick the shorter sentence, assuming that grammar semantics are all right. So grammar is like somebody was saying a machinery which is used. It is the machinery which is used to run a particular language or to frame language so that we can make sentences properly and use them correctly. The rules of language basically. So therefore, now we have to understand this very clearly from the point of view of exams. You need to understand that uh, on the entrance test, on the entrance test, the relevance is that you may have direct questions on grammar, as I was just telling you. You may get questions like, you will see the patterns also later on. But basically, you're asked to check whether a sentence is grammatical or not. And there are various patterns. So I'm not discussing the patterns. I'm just telling you why we are studying grammar. You are doing this to handle the direct questions, which usually occur on paper, on exams like SNAP, NMAT, etc., IIFT also. But this kind of question is not much visible on the CAT. And so sometimes students start thinking, okay, what is the importance of this area? So he has to understand that when you pick options in reading comprehensions, that means though CAT exam has not given any direct question on grammar in the last many years, but when we pick options, when you pick the options, no, that which option to pick, let's say you have a reading comprehension question, many a time a particular option we reject because the way it is structured, it has got a very different meaning. Because the meaning of a sentence depends on its grammar. Many a time, the way it is structured. इसको बोलते हैं, there is a word in English which is called syntax. यहाँ पे they sometimes use syntax also. Syntax is over and above the rules of grammar, the way the elements of a sentence are organized in a sentence. That brings differences in meaning. So we will do some questions when we do the paragraph based questions, and therein you will realize that the same sentence, when it is ordered in four different ways, it carries a different meaning or it changes the meaning, something like that. So if our understanding of grammar is good, then we are very well equipped to handle those choices. Otherwise उस टाइम पे then students they start thinking, उस टाइम पे उनको समझ में नहीं आता ये क्लॉज क्या है, सिंटैक्स क्या है और ग्रामर क्या है, क्यों डिफरेंस है मीनिंग, उनको फिर पूरी ग्रामर दोबारा से समझानी पड़ती है. So I would only recommend to my students that you have decent time with you, so you must pay good close attention to grammar and vocabulary both, because both of them are the pillars of the language. If you make yourself strong in these areas, then it becomes easier to solve questions, understand why a particular question is correct in this manner, and obviously you will become more competitive for this exam. That is the whole reason why we are here. So let us start talking now about, so I hope this point is understood, the relevance of grammar. So you have direct questions, you also have relevance for RC, relevance for reading comprehension, and even paragraph based questions. Please note. भी अभी यहाँ मुझे समझाना मुश्किल है कि पैराग्राफ बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस में ग्रामर की क्या रेलेवेंस होती है, बट व्हेन यू एक्चुअली स्टार्ट सॉल्विंग पैराग्राफ बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस, तो फिर स्टूडेंट्स को समझ में आता है कि अच्छा दिस पैराग्राफ विल बी ऑर्गेनाइज्ड लाइक दिस बिकॉज इस सेंटेंस का स्ट्रक्चर ऐसे है तो इसके बाद यही सेंटेंस आएगी। तो हर सेंटेंस को ध्यान से पढ़ना और उसका बेसिक पैटर्न को समझना, इट्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. So I will spend a few minutes on some concepts with respect to elements of a sentence, and we'll talk about it. One moment. So let us talk very quickly first about the elements of a sentence. If you take any sentence, sentence has got parts to it. For example, if I say I and Rani are going to see the magnificent which building is magnificent? Okay, चलो रेड फोर्ट की बात हो रही है आजकल बहुत, रेड फोर्ट लिख देते हैं. I and Rani are going to see the magnificent red fort. उसके बाद में there is one expression wow. So we will try and identify the parts to which each of these words belong. So some of you might know also that every word in a sentence belongs to a particular part of speech. So we have to understand firstly what are those names, and we are going back to our grammar of our school days and trying to very quickly revise this because this is all relevant to what we are going to study henceforth. So we have to touch upon this. So in English, there are 8 parts of speech. Every word can belong to these 8, one of these 8 categories. And there is an acronym for it, EVAN-CAP. EVAN-CAP. Yes, Shreya, you want to put Rani and I? चलो उसको भी रानी एंड आई कर देते हैं. All right. All right. Okay. Yeah, there is a grammatical reason also why I've done it, but I won't discuss that reason just now. But I can understand why Shreya has mentioned that. So now what we will do is that very quickly, now Rani over here, you can see, now yes, before that I put this acronym over here. What is an acronym? ACRONYM. An acronym is a word that is made by using the first letter of some words. जैसे ASAP है, बट वो तो एब्रीविएशन हो गया. फॉर एग्जाम्पल एडिडास है. एडिडास इज ऑल डे आई ड्रीम अबाउट स्पोर्ट्स. तो हम लोग ऐसे बोलते थे, आई रिमेम्बर एज किड्स. सो एडिडास बिकम्स
फॉर एग्जांपल टाइम इंस्टीट्यूट.
वो एक्चुअली yes, the even yes, if you think time, because time is a word in itself. It's a new word, and it's a word in itself. That is why it's an acronym for the entire name, Triumphant Institute of Management Education. So I can understand that. But more than an acronym, वो actually abbreviation होगा, उसका short form होगा. An acronym is when you make a new kind of a word by taking some other words like that. So this is the word EVAN-CAP. EVAN, is a name, and CAP is cap, what you wear. So with a double P, I refers to interjection, V for verb, A for adverb, noun, conjunction, adjective, preposition, and pronoun. These are the 8 parts of speech. So if you see this word over here, wow, at the end, this particular word is an interjection. What is an interjection? It is that part of speech or that word that throws an emotion in a sentence. Like, and usually it has an exclamation mark after it. ये आपको line दिख रही है with a dot underneath it. It's called exclamation mark, part of punctuation. So it tells you the emotion in the sentence. So we can make that these people are very happy. So words like wow or hurry or oh no, oh God, these are interjections. They throw the emotion in a sentence, and uh, you can make out what the author is feeling. Then there are some other words over here. Red Fort is a proper noun over here. It's a proper noun. It is a name of a building which is unique in itself. And magnificent tells me something more about the Red Fort. So what would you call such words?
Adjectives.
Adjectives.
Yes, words which tell us something about nouns, they are called adjectives. So this is an adjective over here. Then you have this word the over here, the magnificent red fort. So the is typically an article, but articles are also more like adjectives only because they tell us that we are speaking, they tell us something about the noun that we have, tried to specify a noun or try to make a reference back to it, something like that. So, so the articles, are not listed as separate parts of speech. So you can consider them as adjectives only. And there are three articles. We know that a, an, and the. Then you have this expression over here, are going to see. This entire thing actually comprises two parts. This part is one set. This is another. This is actually a verb. It's a to infinitive. And this one also is a finite verb, I would say. It's a finite verb over here. So basically, are going and to see are verbs. You can think like this. Then I is a pronoun. And over here is a conjunction. So words which are used to replace nouns are called pronouns. So I refers to one person and this word I has been used for that person. So it's a pronoun. It's a personal pronoun. Ravi is used to, Ravi again is a noun. It's a proper noun, you can say. It's a proper noun because it refers to a specific person. And because the name Ravi is there, proper noun. So I think, have we covered all the parts of speech? If I say Ravi and I are going to see the magnificent red fort, let us say I put another word over here, today. After red fort, I say today. So then today becomes what?
Adverb.
It becomes the adverb, correct. It tells you when you are going somewhere. So this is your adverb. I think we have covered more or less all the different parts of speech. We have covered more. So this is how you categorize them. Then so I'm just talking about the structure of language very briefly, that how sentences are organized into parts, and then those simple parts, individual words also combine to form phrases. For example, if I say the blue box is in the shelf. So if you see this part, the blue box over here, this basically is a noun phrase. It's a noun phrase. So what is a phrase? A phrase is a collection of words performing a particular function. So here this phrase is performing the function of noun subject. Because a sentence is divided into parts, a sentence is divided into parts, and you can see that what is being spoken about is called the subject. So in this sentence, I'm talking about the box basically. But when I say the blue box, so I'm talking about a specific box which is also blue in color. So this entire part from here to here becomes the noun, functions as a noun subject. And also it's a phrase because it's a collection of words performing this function. Then is, of course, is a verb over here. And the remaining part of the sentence is called what? This is the predicate. Whatever comes uh, after the noun subject becomes the predicate. That is, it includes the verb and the remaining phrases or sentences in the words, or the verb and the other words in the sentence make up the predicate. Hope this is clear. Yes. Any doubt so far? Yes, students, it's very important to understand this.
Yes, I'm clear.
Yeah, these are the very basics. So I'm just touching upon them over here. Now, when I say the blue box is in the shelf, so the expression in the shelf tells me where the blue box is. So it becomes an adverbial, it becomes an adverb phrase. It tells me where the blue box is in the shelf. It becomes an adverb phrase. So you must understand that there are single words and then groups of words which do combine and form some functions. Like if you see the sentence that I wrote earlier, and I said Ravi and I are going to see the magnificent red fort. In this sentence also I've underlined are going. So this part are going is the verb phrase. Okay, it's a verb phrase now. So we have words which may belong to 8 categories. Then you have some phrases which may belong to many categories. Uh, for example, if I say, uh, for example, if I say, Ria is qualified. Ria is a qualified chartered accountant, right? I make this statement. So this expression over here, a qualified chartered accountant, tells me something more about Ria, right? So frankly, it is functioning as an adjective phrase, which tells me what Ria is. So therefore, you have to understand that in sentences, there are parts of groups of words which perform certain functions, and that can be made out by studying the sentence carefully. Then, moving on from words and phrases, we move on to yet another expression that is called clause in a sentence. So, a clause is also a group of words together used in a sentence, but it should essentially contain a finite verb in it. So, finite verb means what? Finite verb means that it should contain a verb that shows tense or is dependent on number. For example, if I say, yes, Shashi Ranjan, dear, your audio needs to be switched off. Shashi, it's just coming on some disturbance once in a while. All right. So, therefore, what is a clause now? I was talking about a clause because our understanding of a clause will take us further to patterns of sentences. For example, if I make a statement, Ria is happy, or let us say Ria plays well, for example, she plays well. So in this sentence, what is the verb? The verb is plays. So there is only one verb in this sentence, and we know that the verb is impacted. It's a finite verb because plays is got the S form over here. I can't use it for plurals. When you talk about verbs, and verbs can be used selectively for singular or plurals many a time. So those words are called finite verbs. So here I can't use this word plays for plural. Like, can I say they plays well? Can you say that grammatically? Or they eats samosas. Can I say that? I can't say that. That is why this word over here, verb plays over here is a finite. Finite numbers hote hain na, limited. In maths, there is a concept of finite numbers, I think. Finite means limited, restricted. That is what you mean by finite verb, which means that this verb cannot be randomly used for singular and plural nouns alike. There is a change. Now this is a simple sentence. Why? Because it has got only one verb in it. Becomes a simple sentence. All right, this is a simple sentence. And the subject in this sentence is Ria. Plays well is the predicate. Now you say something else now in this sentence. I say Ria plays well. And I say and she must go for the championship. So I made a statement over here like this, that she plays well and she must go for the championship. So what I have done over here is that I'm using a conjunction over here. And then I write and make another sentence here, and she must go. So this is the verb over here for the championship. So very clearly, must go also is a verb expression over here. So go also is a finite verb. I can't use it for just about anybody. It's a finite verb because you have go. Can I say I go? Just a moment. Can I say she go there? If you use it with she without the must, so you'll say that she goes to the university, for example. But because we have used a model, this expression, this word must over here, so go is all right. The point that I'm trying to make is even the verb go over here cannot be used freely. It undergoes a change. It becomes goes. Sometimes it is go, sometimes it is goes, which means that the word is limited in its use. So therefore, again, it's a finite verb. So if there is another finite verb in this long sentence, so then this entire sentence starts like Ria plays well and she must go for the championship, then this becomes a compound statement. It becomes compound means two sentences are joined by a conjunction, and usually when a conjunction like and joins two shorter sentences, so it's a compound sentence. So compound sentence basically means that the two parts of the sentence can be spoken independently. That means I can independently say that Ria plays well. This is one thought. And I can say she must go for the championship. This is another thought. तो दोनों के बीच में कोई ऐसा लिंक नहीं है that they have to come together. They don't depend on each other for any meaning. That is a concept of a compound statement. And mostly coordinating conjunctions, they join such clauses. So which brings me to the next part, that this longer sentence will have two clauses. First is this one. If this is alone, this sentence then is a simple sentence. But if it gets another part, another clause, then this becomes a compound statement.
हेलो
Yes, Shashi.
मैं बोल रहा हूँ, आपने बोला कि कंपाउंड सेंटेंस होता है। कंपाउंड सेंटेंस में दो अलग अलग मीनिंगलेस सेंटेंस को जोड़ देते हैं, तो वह भी वही कंपाउंड सेंटेंस हो जाए, या दो अलग, जैसे किसी का मीनिंग अलग हो और किसी का मीनिंग अलग, वही कंपाउंड
हाँ,
सेंटेंस हो जाए।
कंपाउंड सेंटेंस का मतलब ये होता है कि जिसमें दो छोटे हिस्से होते हैं और उन छोटे हिस्सों को आपने जोड़ दिया है। अब देखिए मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा है, उनको जब आप जोड़ देते हैं एक साथ तब वो सेंटेंस कंपाउंड बनेगी। अगर वो अलग अलग आप बोल रहे हैं, उनको अलग अलग सेंटेंस बना रहे हैं, तो वो सिंपल सेंटेंस रहेगी ना। बट
अगर
अगर आप
दोनों का मीनिंग एक ही तरह का मीनिंग सेम हो, मीनिंग दोनों का सेम ही आता।
देखो ना, आप दो एकदम अलग सेंटेंस कैसे जोड़ सकते हो? मैं ऐसे लिख सकती हूँ, देखो ये जो सेंटेंस है, I have to have sentences which make sense and pull them together. I can't say Ria plays well and Mr. Narendra Modi must not go to Europe. इस बात का क्या मतलब है? ये तो इलॉजिकल हो जाएगी ना। कहाँ आप तो रिया की बात कर रहे हो दैट शी प्लेज वेल और उधर मोदी को यूरोप नहीं जाना चाहिए। तो ये तो मीनिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू का कोई सेंस नहीं है। बेसिकली आप जो भी कहना चाहते हैं, तो कई बार हम लोग जो कहना चाहते हैं वो एक लंबी सेंटेंस में आता है। अभी वी आर ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ सेंटेंसेस। बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है कि स्ट्रक्चर होता क्या है सेंटेंस में। और मैंने वर्ड से स्टार्ट किया था। पहले वर्ड्स होते हैं, फिर फ्रेजेस होते हैं, फिर क्लॉज आता है। कि क्लॉज क्या चीज है? क्लॉज वो हिस्सा है सेंटेंस का जिसमें एक वर्ब होता है। अभी के लिए फाइनाइट वर्ब मोस्टली कहा जाता है उसको। फाइनाइट वर्ब मीन जो टेंस दिखाता है आपको, जो नंबर की बात करता है। तो रिया प्लेज वेल, और इफ आई से मोहित प्लेज बैडमिंटन, और मोहित गोज टू यूनिवर्सिटी, और द फार्मर्स दे ग्रो क्रॉप्स, ये सब चीजें जो हैं ये एक ही वर्ब है इन सब सेंटेंस में, सिंपल सेंटेंस है। लेकिन यदि सेंटेंस लंबी है और उसमें एक कंजंक्शन है जो ज्वाइन कर रहा है दो सेंटेंसेस को, छोटे सेंटेंसेस को, तो वो सेंटेंस या तो कंपाउंड होगी या कॉम्प्लेक्स होगी। ये जो स्टेटमेंट है कंपाउंड इसीलिए है बिकॉज इट इज जॉइंड बाय कोऑर्डिनेटिंग कंजंक्शन। अभी जब हम कंजंक्शंस पढ़ेंगे तो आपको ज्यादा समझ में आएगा। तो मैं डिटेल में आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग कि देयर आर सम कंजंक्शंस लाइक एंड, येट, not yet, sorry, like and, to, but, and not only but also, which add some meaning in which add meaning to one part of the sentence. For example, if I say I will have samosa and ice cream, so you are adding something more. So when this additional, when the coordinating conjunction which adds something to the meaning of sentences, which is already spoken, then those type of sentences are called compound sentences. So the theory says that these sentences, parts of sentences can be spoken separately. And so from here you have to make out that because there are two verbs over here, verb number one is this, and this is the second verb here. So there will be two clauses here and becomes a compound statement. Then you have something which is called complex statement. In a complex statement, the theory is that the subordinate clause cannot depend on has to be spoken in conjunction with the main clause, and it cannot be spoken independently. For example, if I say Ria plays well, because she practices daily. All right, so I've made this statement now. Now, when I've made this statement, so you can see where are the verbs in this statement. The first verb is where? Plays. This is verb. The second one is practices daily. So this is verb number 2 over here. This is the second verb, right? Second one. And this is the first one. So very clearly I can see that there are two clauses in this sentence because there are two verbs, finite verbs. And what is this part over here? Because
Have a
over
clause
here,
have a verb,
yeah,
or is it like something it must have subject or something like that?
a clause must have a verb in it. That is the rule. The verb that shows tense, and it should be a finite verb basically, which is limited in its usage. So we'll study more
Ma'am,
about verbs today, not today, on some other day. But I thought I will just touch upon this and tell the student
what
that
is
what are
the
different
difference
types.
between finite and infinite verb, ma'am?
What? What did you ask?
What is the difference between finite and infinite verb?
See, a finite verb is limited in its use. A non-finite word is unlimited in its use. It is not impacted. I just explained that. Dekhiye, who asked me this question? I will not go into the detail today. It's your very first class, and today's session I will miss out totally otherwise. I can go on discussing this, but I will briefly explain to you. And why I will not explain in detail is because there are 2 sessions devoted to verbs. So don't worry about it. But because I'm touching upon sentences today, so I wish to uh, point out that a verb that is limited in its usage. For example, a verb like plays. Plays is a verb. So can I say they plays tennis? Can I say that? You can't say that. That is why this word is used only for singulars. Mostly singular noun subjects like he plays or she plays or Mohit plays or Rani plays tennis. But for they, I can't use it. I can't even use it for I. Even for I have to change it. I say I play. So therefore, it is a finite verb because it is impacted by tense. Similarly, if you take another verb like to go, abhi to, like you see this verb over here on top, which I've written over here to see. This is called the infinite or the non-finite verb in English, as far as verbs are concerned. What do you mean by it? We mean that this form of the verb, wherein you have a verb preceded by a to, जिस verb से पहले to होता है, तो ये जो verb इसको बोलते हैं to infinitive. Infinitive is the base form of the verb. जैसे think है, talk है, drink है. So the point is that ये जो है एक इम्पैक्ट नहीं होता है, आप इसको किसी के साथ भी यूज कर सकते हैं. सिंगुलर, प्लूरल, पास्ट टेंस, प्रेजेंट टेंस, फ्यूचर टेंस, ये इस फॉर्म में कोई चेंज नहीं आता है. And you can use it freely. This is what you mean by non-finites. So when I tell you that we are discussing clauses, I'm discussing only finite verbs. When I discuss clause, there should be a finite verb in a clause. तभी पता चलता है कितने clauses हैं sentence में और कि sentence का structure क्या है. क्लियरली ये जो सेंटेंस है लास्ट में, द रिया प्लेज वेल बिकॉज शी प्रैक्टिसेस डेली, तो इसमें दो वर्ब्स हैं, प्लेज है, प्रैक्टिसेस है। अभी के लिए आप इतना ही समझ लीजिए, अदरवाइज आपको कंफ्यूजन हो जाएगा। वी विल जस्ट गो स्लोली ओवर द सेशंस एंड यू विल अंडरस्टैंड ऑल दिस, देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम। बट ये तो आ जाते हैं क्वेश्चन, स्टूडेंट्स को डाउट हो जाता है कि ये क्या है, तो आई एम जस्ट रेफरेनिंग फ्रॉम गोइंग इन द डिटेल नाउ। आई होप इट इज अंडरस्टूड। Now this sentence is a complex sentence. So the thing is that it is using a conjunction like because. Because is a conjunction, it's a subordinating conjunction. That means it will join two clauses, and the clause that comes after because becomes a subordinating clause. So theory ये कहती है कि if you are using a subordinating conjunction to join two clauses, या कोई भी joiner word, basically conjunctions are what? They are joiner words. Words like yet, while, because, whereas, so that, and they are all conjunctions. Depending on the type of conjunctions, sentence patterns can be decided. So this is a pattern of a complex sentence because theory says if subordinating conjunctions are used, then the sentence becomes complex. So it has a main clause. The main clause is Riya plays well. जो बाद में लिखा हुआ है because she practices daily, that is a dependent clause. That means it will depend on the main clause for its meaning. That's the theory. I hope it is understood. Three types of sentences: simple, compound, complex. And please note, a compound or complex sentence can have two or more clauses. दो से ज्यादा clause हो सकते हैं. Yes, any questions? Anybody?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes,
Ma'am,
Vishal.
ma'am, you are returning the Ria plays well. Ma'am, what will make sense when we add apostrophe s in place?
नहीं, apostrophe नहीं आ सकता है यहाँ पे. Because we are not talking about Ria का. If I say Ria's plays में तो आएगा ही नहीं apostrophe. There is no question of. I mean, when do you put an apostrophe on nouns, not on verbs. Apostrophe जो है वो nouns पे लगाया जाता है possession show करने के लिए. If I say Mohit's bicycle, तो मोहित के ऊपर apostrophe आएगा. मोहित rides the bicycle, तो rides के ऊपर apostrophe नहीं आएगा. ये समझ रहे हैं आप? Apostrophe, this question which was asked, it was on this comma apostrophe this. So if I say Ria plays the guitar well, so it is plays, no, sorry, this will not make sense. If I say Ria's guitar is imported, right? Ria's guitar is imported. तो रिया जो है, तो अब रिया के गिटार की बात कर रहे हैं. ये दिखाने के लिए कि वो रिया का गिटार है, you put this apostrophe over here like this. Okay? Hope you got it. Verbs पे नहीं लगता.
Mean that Ria का guitar, मतलब that we
जी
using
जी.
apostrophe.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what it means.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Now we'll discuss about nouns and everything related to nouns, pronouns, and articles. That is the core session for today. So I will be taking you through these slides. I will not discuss all these slides in detail, and we are just going to brush up some concepts. So if you have any questions, be sure to ask quickly. We all know what a noun is, right? There's a definition that we studied in school, but frankly speaking, if you think in other terms, a noun is everything that is present in this earth and beyond. कुछ भी जो इस world में है, it is a noun. Now we need to understand that what are the categories of nouns. This is important to understand because a lot of grammatical aspects are related to it. So there is some example of, there are four types of, there are different ways of categorizing nouns or types of nouns. First is proper noun. Words like you can see these examples like Ashoka or India, they are unique. एक ही ये किंग की अशोक की बात हो रही है, किंग अशोक की बात हो रही है, तो इट्स अ प्रॉपर नाउन. इसी तरह से जैसे हमने पहले लिखा था, कंट्रीज के नेम्स हैं या फिर रिवर्स के नाम हैं, किसी इंडिविजुअल का नाम है या नेशनल मॉन्यूमेंट्स हैं, यूनिक मॉन्यूमेंट्स हैं, दे आर ऑल proper nouns. So you must know that a proper noun begins with a capital letter. If it is not with capital, then there is an error in the sentence. Then there are common nouns which refer to categories. Like you have city, you have singer. तो अगर मैं बोलती हूँ कि हैदराबाद is a big city, तो city as a noun refers to doesn't, I mean it can be just about any city. ये तो देखिए सेंटेंस में लिखा हुआ है, पर अगर मैं इसको अलग से यहाँ पे लिखूं city, कोई भी city हो सकता है. The word can refer to any city, can be used for any place. That's why it's a common noun. City है, teacher है, singer है, और house है, tree है, river है. These are all common nouns. So they will belong to certain categories or class. Then collective nouns are there, which refer to a collection of something. For example, if you think of class itself, जैसे ये class है. So what do you mean by class? In this, a group of people who are together for a session, that's a class. If you talk about a bunch or a committee, so when I say a bunch of bananas or I say bunch of keys, bunch refers to a collection of something. Like that, there are many different names that are given to collections of items or animals. Like machine gun का एक बड़ा interesting example है, books का भी है. Like a library of books or a pile of books. या फिर अब मशीन गन्स का क्या था, अ नेस्ट ऑफ मशीन गन्स. तो लोग सोचेंगे ये मशीन गन्स और नेस्ट का क्या कनेक्शन है, क्योंकि नेस्ट तो बर्ड्स के होते हैं. लेकिन इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट